And ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
I'm Jay Reef.
And today we also have an announcement, Jay. For the past 9 episodes, for the past 8 episodes, I've been saying that it's going to be running concurrently. It's not, as people will now already know. So it doesn't really work, this announcement. Anyway, the long and short of it is that these Twilight Zones will now be coming out in 10 episode blocks across a period of time. Our first block will end with Perchance to Dream, 10 episode block. Today is episode is I think the 7th we're looking at, and it's our first episode from season 4. So let's talk about season 4. So through a matter of budgeting, through a matter of the show's limited success, it became quickly apparent that perhaps a more commercially viable way to make the show would be in 18 hour-long episodes rather than the usual 25 block, 20 late 20s amount of half-hour episodes. And for the large part, there's just no way around it. It was diminishing returns. There are some Twilight Zone episodes at 25 minutes that don't have enough juice to last 25 minutes. And that is regrettably most certainly the case with season 4. We are only talking about 2 season 4 episodes in this 50, because for me, they're the only 2 that are worthy, really. A bit brutal, but it's true. The one that we're going to talk about today is not only the most, for me, the undoubted best of series 4, but also one of the top 10 episodes of all time. I can't remember where I put it in my final ranking, but this is one of my all-time favorites. I absolutely adore it. It's on Thursday we leave for home. Had you watched this one before? I know that in your original watch, you only got to like halfway through season 2, was it?
It was like the end of season 1.
Sorry. And then, well, there we go then. So how was your first foray into the world of 47-minute Twilight Zones? Was it, did you feel, I'm giving you a bad example because this is one of the better episodes of all time. So I know that you don't feel it in this episode, but was it a weirder sensation?
Well, no, I didn't really feel it at all. Compared to any other modern versions of Twilight Zone that I may or may not have seen.
Oh yeah, they are 47 minutes. Yeah. Wasn't the comedian episode like an hour and 10 minutes?
Oh, God, probably. Yeah, but I definitely didn't.
This is just one of those. When people talk about Twilight Zone as play fodder, why isn't this just a really great play? Why isn't this stretched out? I know that you'd have to have somebody coming in and not mimicking Serling's prose, but adapting it and working with it. But for me, this is so ripe for an excellent piece of theatre. Minimal sets, incredible character dynamics. Well, let's talk about these characters. The opening narration. This is William Benteen, who officiates on a disintegrating outpost in space. The people are a remnant society who left the Earth looking for a millennium, a place without war, without jeopardy, without fear. And what they found was a lonely, barren place whose only industry was survival. And this is what they've done for 3 decades, survive. Until the memory of the Earth they came from has become an indistinct and shadowed recollection of another time and another place. 1 month ago, a signal from Earth announced that a ship would be coming to pick them up and take them home. In just a moment, we'll hear more of that ship, more of that home, and what it takes out of mind and body to reach it. This is the Twilight Zone. Very simple premise. For the first, I think it's the 20-minute mark, Colonel Sloan arrives. First 20 minutes, we are just in this hellscape. The first thing that becomes quickly apparent to us is the heat and sweat of this outpost. to colonize an outer region. An interesting point that I noted, they're going on a whim. It's not some Interstellar or any other science fiction that we've watched where they have to leave Earth. It's a whim.
Yeah.
Which I think somewhat makes it a darker tale. Because if it was the fact that Earth is destroyed, or Earth is slowly dying, and so they have to find somewhere else and have to make the best of it, it's not that at all. They were just looking for other places, other outposts, and it's hell. And we have the 2 burning suns. That's one of the first images we see. Just this absolute hellscape. What did you think of the outpost?
Well, yeah, it was pretty crap. It was a good set, I thought.
This is Pilgrim 1, the first spaceship sent up to colonize the outer region, carrying 113 people who established this first colony off the Earth, erected in 1991. And it's not unlike Castaway when he makes his own gravestone. That's how it always felt to me, that the chalk on that. And it's just like, oh, this is so sad. They will dwindle out here. Let's talk about the cast. I mean, James Whitmore, who people most famously will know, of course, as Brooks from Shawshank. Just one of the all-time supporting performances in the movie. Obviously, breaks your heart as Brooks in Shawshank. And here he's the lead, and he's absolutely sensational as this Captain Benteen, who, again, for the first 20 minutes, is a hero for us.
Yeah.
He's an absolute hero. And
has a beautiful monologue.
Multiple. And just he has the absolute control. We see it slip at points, but in that first 20 minutes, he's a hero to us. He is, and everybody looks up to him. And as we come to learn, that has ingratiated in him a bit of a savior complex, a bit of a hero complex, perhaps a bit of a leader complex. There's any other complexes you want to add?
No, I think
I hit them all. I think I also made up a lot. James Whitmore, he used to do one-man shows as Harry Truman and Will Rogers and just go around touring. He was also in a critically acclaimed production of All My Sons as Joe Keller, which I've tried to find for years because they did film it and it's nowhere to be found. It's very annoying. Just release things on DVD. I will buy them. People will buy them.
That's true.
The NT Lives, why are they not released on DVD? Charge £20. I will buy them. People will buy them. This also has James Broderick, Matthew's father, as Al Baines, the sort of not second in command, but sort of one of his close compadres as Al Baines. It's Matthew Broderick's father, James Broderick.
They don't look alike.
They don't look alike at all.
No.
But let's not get to Colonel Sloan's just yet, but let's stay in this 20-minute world. Speaking of James Broderick and Al Baines and the oversleeping, and well, no, if you oversleep, then that means that they've got to do 20 more minutes, and then it's not fair. And just not one of the first, but I think one of the great things about this being 50 minutes is the slow revealing of how shit this place is. Because I think of It's a Good Life with that being 25 minutes, and you need that first 5 minutes of, but these people didn't smile anymore. And we're in the middle of this, and the rest of the world has disappeared. And if that was a 45-minute episode, then maybe we could slip that information throughout. But here we can, and it's so tastefully done. I think of later the kid talking about when he talks to Earth, that beautiful monologue that you were talking about, and the kid asking, "What's night, Captain?" Like just the slow revealing of just how bad this place is, in that there isn't even night. These two burning suns burn all day and all night, and this kid has grown up in this place and has no concept of a day as we know it. Just a long hell.
Is it Jojo?
Little Jojo. Ah, Captain. What does he say later? Captain Jojo would like to meet the Colonel. Jojo. Oh, I fucking love. This is one of my favorite. I can't remember where I put it in my overall rankings, but I think this is just one of the beautiful pieces of writing Serling's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about just the hellscape we're in, one of the first things we find is the suicide, is the woman who has hung herself. And
I thought that was pretty dark for
oh yeah,
for this time, for the 60s.
Yeah, and in the stark way it's presented of just, and then again, Captain Benteen has to cut her down and prepare her for burial in an hour. You've just got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to keep going. We have to believe, and this is what leads us on to my next note about the religious zealotry of it, cult-like almost, with Benteen holding that Bible, and there's a ship coming. There's a ship coming. There's a ship coming, and everybody, and you know, we've got to believe. And what is God's response? A meteor storm. And it's just so dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a dark, like we usually double bill these recordings, and we watched this with the next episode, Long Live Walter Jameson. And your message to me was, what was it? Wow, they were two fun, two really depressing episodes.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because and I think again, what makes this such a great piece is that come the 20-minute mark, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be a depressing episode. No. It seems like it's gonna be quite a joyous, this is gonna be one of the happy ones. And then those little things. Well, Mr. Benteen, Captain Benteen.
Oh.
And you just know from the off.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But Colonel Sloane hasn't arrived yet. There's a ship coming. And I actually think the optics of them putting the meteors in, you can notice a couple that sort of fade away a little bit too quickly. But overall, I think the effects are quite good. And again, are just absolutely devastating and brutal. At this stage in the episode, Jay, what were you thinking? Were you think that this is just going to be 15 minutes, a long march to the grave for everybody?
I didn't really know where it was going to go. I obviously, because it's the Twilight Zone, I was like, what's the twist going to be?
Yep.
Like, is this actually Earth or some?
You blew it up.
Yeah. But yeah.
But the twist is human nature.
Yes. which is a very dark twist anyway.
Yeah. Let's talk about this monologue that you were talking about Earth with the kid. And outside the storm is getting worse. And I love this episode was directed by Buzz Kulik, who directed a lot of the episodes. And he keeps the old woman in the shot the whole time. And it's the beautiful thing of seeing her face, seeing the kid's face. And because she knows what Earth was. And for this child, it's as good as a fairyland. It's as good as a make-believe world. They have no concept that it's real. And it's just this stark, harrowing. I'll get it up. I think I have it here. This is William Benteen. Oh yeah. Oh no, that's the later one. Oh yeah. There's color on the earth, Jojo. The change of the seasons, the wind. The wind brings with it the smell of the ground, the plants, the seeds, the roots, the flower petals, the sap from the trees. The wind brings with it the smell of the weather, the rain, the mist, the park. And the earth is green, Jojo. Green, the color green, the feeling green. There's something so fresh about it, so alive about it, so living about it. It's the earth. Oh no, that's later. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was reading the final one because don't leave me here. Oh, that's so sad. But it's the same sort of gist. The feeling green.
The music was very good.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't remember who did the score for this episode in particular. It might have been some of the old Herman stuff. But let's. Have you got it?
I thought I did, but I don't.
Oh, that's all right. Let's talk about then Tim O'Connor as Colonel Sloane, who arrives, and I don't want to say fucks it all up, because in many ways he is completely in the right and is absolutely, you know, Colonel Sloane is completely in the right. And again, this is what I talk about with it being a great piece of theatre, possibly, is Colonel Sloane's not a villain. And Captain Bentina, I mean, you could look at it as slightly villainous, is the way he distorts and the way he crumbles down, but they're both in the right, in their own minds, at least.
Yeah,
it's Shakespearean, of course, and Sloane, he's just going about his job, and he can't wait to bring people back. I've always thought he looks a little bit like James Mason, Tim O'Connor, in this. Did you think that?
No.
No, we have James Mason on the mind.
But yeah, it's like you said, it's like a play. It's like you know, it's very oh God. You know, it's like A View from the Bridge kind of.
Yeah, it's the classic format of two. What's the line in Sherlock Holmes where he's like, where Moriarty's like, two immovable forces must collide, or whatever. And it's these two people who, in their own worlds, are both completely in the right. And as an audience, we're rooting for Benteen for so long, and we are with Benteen for so long. And then eventually we have to be with Colonel Sloane and everybody else, because Benteen, his wanting to do right, quickly becomes apparent that he's just wanting to hold the power. This is the thing: is he wanting to keep the power, or does he genuinely want everybody to have? Does he genuinely believe that everybody's going to fall apart by the time they get to Earth?
I think it's a bit of both. I think for him, yeah, the Earth is probably scary, at least. And then I think in terms of wanting to be a leader, I think there's obviously a lot of that. I think it's like an overprotectiveness, like yeah.
It's a bit like Brooks. When I left the car, there wasn't a car here and there. Things move so fast now. and it is like Brooks. I've never even clicked that, but yeah, things move so fast. And it's that thing, when Colonel Sloane is talking about it, you can see the different reactions. Most people are like, oh wow, that sounds incredible. But then a couple of people I can see, and especially with Benteen, are just, oh, that I'm used to this now. I'm used to this Stockholm. I'm used to this outpost. And as hell as this is, new is scary. New will always be scary. Even if the old is shit, new is always scary. Even if you know almost fundamentally that new will be better, new's always scary. Let's talk about this arrival of Colonel Sloane that I talked about earlier. Captain Jojo would like to meet the Colonel. Hello, Colonel. I love that. Again, Benteen just loves everybody the same, and you know, it doesn't. Although he is the leader in those first 20 minutes, he is very diplomatic and sees everybody sort of the same way. And even in the simplest things of calling Jojo Captain Jojo, you know, whereas the maniacal Benteen, let's say that as he turns, probably, you know, wouldn't be so diplomatic because he's got a goal.
I think that's why you're rooting for him as long as you are. I think it's because you see him being quite, you know, friendly, treating everyone similar. And then obviously when they first start to say that he's kind of like a crazed leader, you're not on their side, you don't really believe them. And then he kind of fulfills
it. And from the off, we get these glimpses of how far Earth has moved on, the magnesium band. And again, Benteen, oh no, put that back in a sling. I've seen arms before. I'd put that back in a sling. And he goes, no, there's no need. It's a magnesium band. It's gonna solve my arm in less than a day, or whatever they say. These incredible revelations on Earth that have moved so much forward, and they're still in this outpost. And now we get in 2021, yes. And now we get the not the reverse. It's the same monologue of how good Earth is, but now it's facts with Colonel Sloan. It's not. This is in the questioning scene where they're doing the Q&As, and it's the same thing as the Earth is green monologue with Jojo, but now it's not fantasy anymore. It's pure facts. And in some ways, you could look at the religious zealotry angle that I mentioned earlier, and talk about how Colonel Sloan represents science and represents facts and represents the future, and Benteen represents a sort of blind faith, perhaps, in a way. And Colonel Sloan talks about one of the predictions that was wrong, that public schools are better equipped and more adequately staffed. No. He also mentions that the Los Angeles Dodgers came in 10th in the 2020 World Series. This prediction proved inaccurate as the LA Dodgers won the 2020 World Series. Perhaps Sloan hated the LA Dodgers. And the idea of let's have a baseball game, and Benteen, oh no, not in this heat, you know, the people pass out, and Captain Benteen wanting, and then this is the bit that again, warning signs of what's Ohio like? I've got family in Ohio. Well, when we get back to Earth, there'll be a period of a couple of weeks where you can all go see your family, but then we're going to make a post and Benteen talking about this, making a post.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely breaks my heart. I know that Benteen perhaps is in the wrong, but it's
that feeling where you're watching like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, and you're like, please just stop.
It's a great tragedy. Above all, it's a great tragedy.
Yeah.
And of course, he, like any great tragedy, he will fall on his own sword. It's an incredible tragedy. The baseball game, and then again these beautiful mirrorings, together, and nobody's joining in. It's the exact same as there's a ship coming, but this time nobody's with Benteen.
Yeah.
You know what I think really makes this episode work for me?
What?
It's the scene where Colonel Sloan's comes to talk with Benteen about the compartment assignments. I'd like to go over them with you. And there is no reason for Sloan to bow down to Benteen. And he's not bowing down, but there's no reason for Sloan to come to Benteen with this information. But it's the perfect writing from Serling that turns Colonel Sloan from this person we want to root against, perhaps because we love Benteen so much, into, no, he is a very clever person and completely understands what Benteen's going through here. Who wouldn't? You've been the leader of a place for 30 years. Your life and soul, and every morning you have woken up wanting to give the people on this outpost life and their quality of life that is not possible, and to keep them alive and to keep them from killing themselves, as we find, and to keep them believing. And Sloan gets that. Sloan understands that. Sloan sees the pain that Benteen is going through and comes to him. I'd like to go over these compartment assignments with you. You know, everybody, it has to be weighted equally and all that sort of thing. And he just turns him away. And he's like, no, we're going to have another vote. I want another vote. He's like, oh, and again, Sloan's trying to talk him down. I believe very adamantly that your vote will not go the way that you think it will. But Benteen, again, that blind faith in the cult, in the group. Yeah. And it's brilliant. What did you think of that compartment assignment scene, that the sort of giving further dimensions to Sloan's?
No, yeah, I thought pretty much the same as you, and I think it was pretty needed to make us like Sloan.
Yeah. I think
especially
with
the captain thing.
The what, sorry?
With him, when he keeps calling Benteen,
Mr. and instead of captain, and then he starts calling him captain as it goes on, because again, he's an empathetic individual. And again, I can just see the play. I can see this great play where that is the great 10-minute drawing room scene. I'll write it if I understood rights. Where are we? Oh yeah, the final vote, which obviously does not go how Benteen expects, and then he grabs a pole and he starts beating up the ship with a pole.
Oh
and
my god. I was so worried that
Oh,
he it, and that was how it ends.
Oh, that would have been a bleak ending. Jesus. Yeah. I think I had that first thought on a first watch as well. I was like, oh God alive. But of course, no, we're dealing with greater tragedy here. And perhaps that would have been perhaps that's a greater tragedy, but this is a greater tragedy in the classical sense.
Yeah. I mean, probably end up, I don't know, being killed by the other people there if he broke the ship.
I think that's the other ending we're looking at, is he manages to wreck the ship and
I think
he is then
I think being alone is a much worse ending.
And then again, Colonel Sloane's final attempt, and he's hiding in the bushes. He's not in the bushes, but he's like hiding in the rocks, and Al Baines and Colonel Sloane come to get him. There'll be no fetching committee. And again, Colonel Sloane being a great guy, being a lovely guy. And then, as I've already alluded to, Captain Benteen speaking to himself all alone. And it is, and then again, the great tragedy, the anagnorisis, the turn comes far too soon, as it always does. The realization, and his hubris has thwarted him, and it's a great tragedy, and it's a great episode of the Twilight Zone. At the end, the camera was supposed to pull up, as it does, but basically the way that they built all the canopies, none of them had roofs, so they had to overnight put fake roofs on all of the shacks overnight, so that the overhead shot could be done without pulling up and going, oh wait, there's no roofs. William Benteen, who had prerogatives. He could lead, he could direct, dictate, judge, legislate. It became a habit, then a pattern, and finally a necessity. William Benteen, once a god, now a population of one. Do you think Benteen has a god complex, or do you think that's just Serling going full blown with the writing?
I don't think he had a god complex.
I think he had a savior complex, if anything. Well, let's do any notes left to say, Jay?
I just thought it was a pretty fantastic episode.
Pretty incredible. This is, let me get up where I had it on my, well, no, actually, let's talk about rankings, because we're going to go some ranking. So it's been a while since we've recorded one of these. At 7, In Praise of Pip. 6, Where Is Everybody? 5, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. 4, The Masks. 3, Time Enough at Last. 2, It's a Good Life. And number 1, we have Walking Distance. That's the only episode we haven't done, but we, all my life, it's been my favorite episode. And so who knows, it could be toppled. Where are you wanting this? I could see this at number 3.
I was about to say that.
Jay, this is why we are alike. I think it's very nice at 3. Let's put it there. On Thursday, we leave for home. On Thursday, we leave for home. I think it's these sort of episodes that make you go, oh, why aren't all of the series 4 ones good?
Yeah.
Because even the other one that I've put in, Death Chip, is a good episode, but isn't great. It's just because I'm anal and don't want to just have one from series 4, because it is obviously this huge part of the legacy of the Twilight Zone. There's just so many better, shorter ones. Next episode, Long Live Walter Jameson. We've already watched it. In one word, Jay, describe Long Live Walter Jameson.
God. Nihilistic.
No, very, very good word. Jay, a distinct pleasure.